We're back. Tales from the Dark Side. T.A. Mahoney Company. You got Mike Mahoney here, and another one of my buddies, Captain Jerry Williams. What's happening, Jerry?
Nothing too much, sir. You sound like you had a good time with Watts a while ago.
Yeah, we taping a couple shows today, man. If we could have videoed some of the stuff that went on in between, it would have been hilarious. We were talking and having a good old time, huh, Jerry? You ready to get started?
Yep, I'll tell you, he didn't stick around very long, did he?
He's ready to go. That guy's busy as can be. He's big time. He's star chaser. He probably had to go up to sign some autographs somewhere out of state, getting in the power pole Lear jet and taking off to sign autographs. But kind of like I do, I start out with everybody. I start off where we met. And Jerry, I met you a long time ago, right when I came back to Mahoney's down there in the estuary. We're thinking early 90s, somewhere right around there. I was probably 22, 23 years old. Just quite a while ago, and a lot of fish to catch in between here and there that we've done. And once again, the store has brought me a great friend, Captain Jerry Williams. He didn't have a choice. He had to be my friend. That was the way I kind of forced him into that, muscled him in. But I remember when we first met, you were coming in. You had a regular John boat with maybe a 50 or 70 horse on it. Could have been a low, could have been a Starcraft. I can't remember exactly what it was, but you had it decked over and you were doing a lot of fishing. They kind of called you downtown. I thought you were the cat man. You remember the cat man back on Davis Island years ago, had all them cats all over the boat? When you first came in, I thought, man, that guy looks like the cat man.
No, man. No cat man right here, brother.
But it was Captain J, and I asked him to take me fishing. And I said, Jerry, why don't you take me fishing? I know you like fishing downtown. I want to fish downtown. He's like, I ain't taking you fishing. You must have told me that 4 or 5 times.
I know your dad warned me ahead of time.
What did he tell you?
He said, if you take him, everybody in Tampa know where your spots are.
Is that
I
what
said, Bob, he can't do me like that. He said, you don't know my son.
Well, he was warned, but you know what happened was Jerry wouldn't take me for, I'd say, and he wasn't somebody that came in all the time because you kind of took care of your stuff.
Yeah.
But one thing back in the day about Mahoney's was there wasn't a bunch of marine places around, and there's still not a ton of them around. Some of your dealers now carry a few more things to make it easier for the customer, but there wasn't a lot of shops like ours. So whether you liked me or not, or didn't want to take me fishing, at some point you were probably going to come through my store to pick something up. And I believe that's what happened to Jerry. Jerry decided to get him a new boat, and you'd gotten your captain's license, and you were starting at it new. I remember you bought a truck, you bought a boat, and your background was welding, and you were going to build your own trailer.
Yep.
So where'd you go to get your trailer parts?
Oh, did I?
Now we got leverage.
Oh, I know you did. You could wait. You just couldn't wait for that opportunity, could you?
No, I knew it was coming, and when you said new boat and I got to build a trailer and I'm on a budget, I said, good. We're going to work something out. And it's been, I mean, ever since Jerry finally took me on a fishing trip, I'd even refer people to him. And those people would come back to me and tell me, he told me he'd take me again, but not to tell you nothing. Don't tell you. I go, come on, tell me where y'all went. No, I told Jerry I wouldn't. And if you remember that was Kenny Romberger and Matt Stafford. He works for me still, manager of the store. And I sent them, I think it might have been their bachelor party or something. They wanted to go fishing.
Yep.
A double wedding or something like that. And you'd taken them to fishing. I was so excited, hoping they went to some different spots than the spots he's taken me. See, he took me to I guarantee I was in the community holes when he first took me out there. First redfish I ever caught, Jerry Williams, artificial, using a mirror lure. He was probably, what'd you say he was, 18, 19 inches?
You had 2 of them there. It was 19 inches apiece.
And those were on the bird sanctuary that day, weren't they?
Yeah. Yep.
channel side of the bird sanctuary there, right in front of the Alify, and kind of got hooked from that point on the skinny water because, you know, it seemed like people had bay boats and flats boats back then, but there wasn't any really flats boat that you know kind of floated super shallow. And I know that boat you built was a heck of a boat for the east side of Tampa Bay, that's for sure.
That's what it took for the territory you want to fish and stuff like that. You got to get your boat, your motor, everything lined up, get everything sequenced out together, or else you're going to be fighting everything. I watch these guys bring these boats in here, see some of the work that's been done. You know, they have to come to Mahoney to get it straightened out.
Yeah.
You got a good guy here in the back that works back there, Brent.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I think our advantage here is the big thing, Jerry's, we're fishermen. So stuff we do on boats, we're not kind of experimenting. We've done them on boats before. We've seen the success, and that's how we know it works. I know some of my first boats, being friends with you, that little Panama skiff I had, where I put a jack plate on it and that 25 horse, and then I jumped up to a 40. There was a lot of instructions there by you on weight, distribution, and how you set a boat up. And that's coming straight from a guy who's put boats together. And I know that one you built, the last one, they called Downtown, big aluminum, what was it, 92-inch beam and
Yeah.
20 foot long or something. And I mean, just an unbelievable boat, made for the east side of Tampa Bay, ready to get scratched.
You know, Mike, we could have that thing loaded down, and you can push it right across 6 inches of water on the grass and stuff.
Yeah, that was unreal, and that's what we used to do. He'd have that trolling motor, and it wasn't that he didn't want to put a bow mount trolling motor on the boat, but a bow mount trolling motor goes straight up and down in the water, the shaft. So if you're going to raise the height of it and you start to bring that blade out of the water, you're losing the thrust that it's set up to do. So what Jerry would do is you'd take that transom one, right?
Yep.
Spin it around, take the head off.
And that's it. And that bracket, you could adjust it to where it'd kick out about a 45-degree angle, just enough where the foot was there. It's like everything was so simple to me now.
Yeah.
But if I hadn't learned how to do that myself when I was in there fishing, and I wanted to stay there a little bit longer, and I said, well, I can't get out my trolling motor. And that was just a ticket I learned.
Yeah.
Pick that up right there, and boom.
Well, and it makes sense too because you're tilting it back, right? When you tilt it back, the prop is still surrounded by water. The
Yeah.
motor is coming out of the water, you know, but the prop itself is still there, just pushing you right through the water. It was really a nice boat, and I did a lot of hours on it. We were talking about it earlier. One of the things I used to do with Jerry was I had a few guys that would, you know, shop with us over here on the east side of the bay, and I would tell them, if you can give me confirmation of where Jerry Williams is fishing, I'll give you a store credit. So, of course, I'd get calls throughout the week to give me where the fish are, and sometimes I'd call him up right away and tell him, what are you doing over in the mouth of Palm River? And I can just picture him looking around, looking for me. Where's he at? But I'd locate you every time, and I think one of the funniest times I remember, Jerry, I was fishing with you, and I think I might have fished a day or two, and then you had 4 or 5 days of for hire work to do where somebody wanted to hire you. And so I said, well, shoot, I'll take my little skiff out and I'll go to the same spot. I'm sure he won't be there before I will. And I got there. I saw your boat, already empty trailer sitting at Davis Island Ramp, so I knew he was already out there, but I figured he'd gone someplace else. And I worked all the way up to this creek, and I'm telling you, this creek was on fire when I was there with Jerry. And I'm thinking, I tell the guy on my boat, we are going to hammer them. And right as I'm getting up there, I hear an outboard start up, but there was no boats around. I'm looking all around. I have no idea where that motor noise is coming from. And sure enough, here comes Jerry out of that creek, 6,000 RPMs, giving me the number 1 sign, yelling at me, don't fish the used water. And off he went. Completely blew me out. What about courtesy there, Jerry?
I had no common courtesy for you that day.
None.
You tried to weasel in there, get in on my turf. I didn't appreciate it, so I just had to show you a little bit. That's all.
That was the true meaning of blowing somebody out. I mean, he was pushing the throttle through the dash. I could see how much pressure was on it, and trim all the way up. He ain't even gonna stop. Needless to say, I went ahead and got on the trolling motor and headed on out and picked a different spot.
My buddy all up in my mailbox, but he got my lunch pail that morning, and I had to show him who was the man.
That was it. That was it. And you definitely did on that one, Jerry. We've had some good times out there on the water. Big fish. I can.
What's on my mind here?
Let's hear it.
Remember that day was cobia fishing down there, and then day before I'd come in there and put them pedestal seats down. He set the hook so hard he broke my pedestal steel.
No, Jerry didn't want to buy through bolts. He was too damn lazy to run a screw in the. So I said, hey, put through bolts in it. Nah, screw it down. That'll be fine. Well, the way Jerry would cobia fish, it was you or them. I mean, lock, drag. What are you supposed to do? I had my feet up on the gunnel, and I put the pressure on him, and I ripped the whole seat out of it. Did we get that cobia in? Or was that the time Jeff Foote come out there and told us not to shoot him?
You got all kind of good stories on me, don't you?
Yeah,
run the police, and when he got up Sly Avenue Bridge, he shooting me. Oh, boy, did he get in my. I can't say
it. It was a good time. We used to run. We kind of knew some of the law enforcement. Jeff Foote was one of them.
Oh man, was
Jerry,
he?
Jerry blew the river out one night. It was probably when he shouldn't have. And
That's when I was going up the Hillsborough River, and Jeff was just coming on that morning, and I was aggravated because I was late. Going up
well,
on
that
the tide.
justifies a no wake sign. That makes it okay.
There wasn't no wake behind my boat.
Nah, that's what he told Jeff. There wasn't no wake coming off the boat.
There wasn't. That thing, you could be running 40 miles an hour and a little half-inch wake behind the boat.
And he thought that he was excluded from that. Until he told you what it has to do with speed too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A little
Yeah.
bit. Jerry,
he wrote me a ticket. He went on up. About 30 minutes later, he come back. He said, here. He tore that ticket up. Don't you ever do that again.
Is that what he did? Scolding you. Was he the same one? Jerry used to catch some cobia in Tampa Bay, and I've talked about it on the radio. He'd hook them, and I don't care how big they are. You got tight enough line, they kind of come to the boat first. They want to see what's getting them, and then they take off. Well, what Jerry had figured out, that if they come to the boat, shoot them in the head with a 357, right?
Definitely.
Boom.
Hey, that's no mental cruelty to that
No,
little fish.
kills it quick. He throws him in the boat.
And
Nobody
he
gets hurt.
bled out, too.
Yeah. Well, Jerry didn't realize that you can't shoot a discharge a firearm in the city limits. But he's up in the river shooting cobia, and here come the cops, the fish cops. Jerry, you can't do that anymore. He met them all over there. He kind of got me into that a little bit, if you know what I mean. He taught me how to run that skinny water where they can't check you. You stay in the skinnies.
I'm telling you,
They
man.
ain't gonna follow.
MacDill used to be so beautiful and, just unbelievable. Back in 88, or was it 85, Elena stayed off the Hudson for 3 days. It just flattened them mangoes in MacDill.
Yeah.
From Picnic Island all the way back around to the golf course there, just flattened it.
Yeah, you were the one that taught me about fishing in MacDill, and I remember Jerry would tell me to wait in a certain spot till you hear the guy blow the whistle at the firing range. That meant stop firing, because there was one area in there that you could have bullets tumble by you if you weren't careful, and that was before they put the Ninja Turtles out there to patrol it. They still had signs up, but it was almost like they didn't care. We'd go right in there and go right by the beach, and nobody ever said anything. Kind of one of them deals where you act like you know what you're doing and nobody bothers you.
Now, right there at Broad Creek, go down from the Beach Creek.
Right.
There used to be a big old 8x12 sign up there, Do not enter. In 95, I quit going over there.
Yeah, well, I was still going over there. That's when you taught me how to get in there. It was 93, and what you had said was that they blow that whistle and all the shooting stops, and then there's always a couple more pops after that, and then you can take off, and it'd be about 4 or 5 minutes before they start shooting again, and that worked for a while, but after 9/11, I kind of stopped going over there.
Yeah.
Even before then, it was getting kind of tough. But Jerry, we got some stories to talk, man. We're having a good time here. We're going to take a break, and we're going to be right back.
Sounds good to me.
We're back. T.A. Mahoney, Tales from the Dark Side, with one of my weirdo buddies, Captain Jerry Williams.
That's okay. What you got to say, bro?
He's a rhymer. He would come up and
Rhymer and a good timer, that's all.
A rhymer and a good timer. We're going to go take him to school over McKay Bay sometime soon, huh, Jerry?
Oh, let me tell you, when you put me on the beach, brother, you really put it to me. I've been telling everybody, how come you and Mike don't go fishing no more? Man.
What happened?
You know what happened. You sabotaged the motor, and I told everybody.
Hey, this is what you got to do. This is what we were talking about earlier. You got to look for that avenue. Well, it was probably a few years ago. We went out in Matt's boat, and I'll tell you some shenanigans he pulls that ain't against the law or the rules. So we're fishing, and Jerry is probably one of the best I've ever seen working a DOA mullet. You can work a DOA mullet, you're not going to catch nothing. Jerry be catching snook, redfish, just every fish out there. You grab the same lure, it ain't happening. It's a way to work that lure. Nowadays, like mirror lure, Jerry, that Mirrodine, it is nothing more than retrieving.
That's it.
Eric builds such a good lure, but those DOAs, the old school mirror lures, you had to have that twitch, and it was a rhythm, and that's where I learned it was from Captain J. But you gotta look for the advantage. The last time we were out, might have been 2 times ago, I noticed he had a weight in his DOA mullet. Like, you can put the weight in or you can take it out. Well, you put it in and you learn how to work that bait with that lure in it to where it just pops at the surface just like a little finger mullet. Well, as we were moving spot to spot, I slid the weight out of his lure, and he didn't notice right away, did you?
No, I did not. That's what got me baffled about it, and you was back there smirky.
I'm
said,
catching
something's
fish.
wrong here. Something's dead wrong here.
And then you finally figured it out, and you just started going, what are you doing to me?
Well, by the way, when are you going to give me a definite answer and a time and stuff so we can go have this fish-a-thon?
I'm ready. I got Brian Watts itching. I got you itching. I'm ready to go anytime. You tell me when you ain't got some kind of doctor's appointment, or you'll tell me you got one thing to do that day at 9 and you can't go fishing. Well, I can't go fishing on Tuesday because Wednesday I'm going to the eye doctor.
But, hey, if I didn't have a bunch of excuses, I'd be in bad shape, my friend.
Yeah, you get beat up all the time. But I'll tell you what he did to me that time. We were out there fishing. He's on the front of the boat, probably one of the best trolling motor guys you want, catching fish. Artificial. I hook a good fish. I think he's a 30-inch snook, wasn't he?
Yes.
It was a nice one. And that was behind the bird sanctuary.
Yep.
Where we catch a bunch of fish certain times of the year. And of course, I say he showed it to me, but then I took the spot over, called it Mike's spot. And I hooked this fish, and normally your guy on the trolling motor is going to pull you out of the mangroves so you can land this fish, right? They're in season. This is obviously a keeper, and we're eating snook. But it's also one up for Mike. Captain J wasn't having that, huh?
Oh, Well, and then I said,
What'd you
"Where's the
do?
net? Where's the net at? Don't forget, I helped you out of this." Matt Stafford goes back there and looks in the bin and gets out this damn filter stream net. that a good grapefruit wouldn't fit down in it.
Man, that looked
But
like a spatula, didn't it?
Mike finally got that fish's head up by the boat, and I come in by the tail and I grabbed him up there in his front lip and throwed him in the boat. But he
But we
still
didn't-
blames me for
We
running
didn't talk
him in the
about what
bush.
happened. We didn't. There was a gap there, Captain Jay. What Jerry did, knowing I had the good fish on, he run the boat to the bushes. I had to take off running to the back of the boat to have any kind of hope for this fish, and I got him turned at the bush line. And when he started coming out, Jerry started pulling out. Oh, I didn't know which way I was going, is what he told me. But we got him in the boat. He
That's
was a
some
good-
of your buddy tricks, isn't it?
Hey, we both ate snook that night, didn't we?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a good eating fish. But having good times with Jerry, I know there's a lot of times out there, Jerry, that it was tough fishing, but man, it was always fun. That artificial, real rewarding, and that's one of the things you showed me about it. You catch 2 fish, 3 fish, 4 fish in a day on artificial, you feel like you've caught 100.
Yep.
You know, it's
You're figuring it out is what it is and what to look for, even though it looks like it's all sand, but you're looking for them little potholes and stuff like that on the sand over on this east side.
Yeah.
And that weeds and grass and other stuff's coming back good on the east side of the bay.
Yeah, something we hadn't had in a while is a trip out there sight casting, and that's one of my favorite things out here on this side. A lot of people don't like that dirty water, but I'll tell you, there's a ton of fish in it.
Yeah.
And you've showed that over the years. You've done real well in that downtown tournament that they used to have where everybody fished downtown. I think it was wintertime. It was kind of tough fishing.
Yeah, a lot of time in October's when I used to hold them tournaments.
Yeah.
And the very last one, Sergio Atanas, he's the one who got it organized. And Jim Talbert was the general manager originally of started Harbor Island. That
Right.
I fished that crew over there a lot of time. And he was said, "This is my last time going, da da da." I said, "Okay." I run right around the backside of Davis Island, boom. 27-inch redfish, 8-pounder, big fat. I've been feeding that fish.
Yeah. That sounds like one of my tricks.
But I told Jim, I said, now when he hits it, just come to the back of the boat with me. And you would never guess who come in there while we had that fish on.
Who? Me?
Come on, man.
Dave Marquette?
No, Dave was fishing the other side.
Wasn't me, was it?
Trying to think of his name right there. Tom Tamanini,
Oh yeah,
the
I
last
remember
guy.
Tom. Man, that was a good time, I'll tell you.
Oh, I'm
Those
telling
tournaments were good, and they shut them down over there, and different ownership and different management groups, and they still got a deal. We're doing something coming up with the Port of Tampa, and they do a tournament out of there that's similar to the downtown, and Marquette's in charge of that one, brainstorming it. But yeah, a lot of good times, Jerry. When I look back, I really appreciate all the knowledge you shared with me, whether you wanted to or not.
Hey, it's always fishing is a learning, a lesson. Every time you go, you can learn something. But if you're sitting out there scratching your head and looking up in the sky, you're not going to catch on to it.
No, you're not gonna. What's the biggest fish you caught over here on the east side of, like the biggest snook?
32 pound, 6 ounces, I believe.
Where was he at?
Hillsborough River, right in back of Lou's dock. I swear.
Lou Garcia, isn't
The
it?
vegetable man. Yes, sir, brother.
Man, I'll tell you what, that name brings back some memories. We'd be at the ramp and you'd say, "Hey, let's get out of here. Steve Brownlee and Lou Garcia are about to launch. We don't want them to see where we're going." But you know what else is funny? We'd notice where they were.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, old Steve over there, secret squirrel, be all tucked in behind Pendola Point. Wouldn't
Yeah, they're watching us go on by heading down south to the kitchen or Whiskey Stump One.
That's it. They had the camo tarp, military camo tarp over the boat. Watch out, here he comes. We can't let him see us here. I finally saw him back there on that creek in Pendola Point.
Oh, yeah.
On the backside, wearing them out.
One afternoon when I come in, he was up there cleaning a couple snook. He had a 38 and a 40-incher, man, up there cleaning on the dock, just waiting till I come up there.
Just to show you. And you'd tell him, Jerry'd say, he'd always say to me, I wouldn't have kept him that big. You shouldn't have kept him. Why shouldn't I have kept him? Because you should have let him go so I'd catch him. And that way I keep him.
Oh, man, I'm telling you.
It was fun, and I'm sure that it goes the same way today to a lot of the people out there that are going fishing. They kind of look for certain people, and you know who's catching fish, and when you see that boat sitting in a certain spot, you know where you should try it. If they ain't there next time, let's give it a shot.
That's the way Roger Cavella was. A lot of boaters started coming over and fishing, he went to Gandy and started fishing strictly pompano year round.
Yeah. They're definitely over there. And pompano, we get them in the bay year round now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, always have. It's just knowing where to go. It's even those triple tail. You were a master at the triple tail.
Yeah.
Mainly in the summer months when they spawn.
Yeah.
And I was actually talking to Scott Moore this week about that and how you'd suggested. Of course, Jerry's all on, let's not keep nothing because he ain't fishing no more, so he don't want nobody else keeping all his fish. He's telling me they should shut down cobia and triple tail in the middle of the summer. Well, that's when they go around the buoys where they're spawning. Well, he goes, well, yeah, they're spawning. You want to save them. What about all them ones you killed, Jerry? Used to shoot them with a pistol.
They was plentiful back then.
Yeah, that's what he'd say. Plentiful back then. A lot different now, Mike. A lot more pressure. You know, there's a lot more money in conservation than there is in farming, and that's why we always want to save and touch and pet and hug and, you know, hug a tree and you get everybody donating. There's a lot more money in that than starting a tree farm.
You know, I've caught my share and your share of snook. You've caught plenty of snook. Let me tell you, yeah, oh yeah, you down there. Don Hartley said he's getting ready to rock you one night when he was up on the trestle down there.
Oh, I was hammering them. I'll tell you, that Alafai River, and you know what, I've said this, I said it a week ago, I'm going to say it right now, it's October. We're in October right now, we're coming out with these videos maybe a week behind. The Alafai River right now, if you want to catch a 20-pound snook, fish it. You fish it for the next 30 days, I guarantee you'll get more than one on. Now, whether you land him, that's up to you. But the fish are in there. The shad come up in that river. They follow the shad. Jerry's the one that told me about it. He said the purse seine nets, they got out of the bay, getting those shad. Now the shad travel naturally. They go up in all these rivers. So when you start hearing that flutter or that flip, those shad have come up the river, and I don't care if it's Hillsborough River, Palm River, Alafai, Manatee, Little Manatee, any of them. Those shad are moving in there. I promise you the snook are right behind them, and I got them dialed in over there at the river. I mean, I guarantee I caught my share. My boat probably caught more than...
You put your time in.
Yeah, I was there every night. I'd pick the tide. It had to be moving. 40, 50 snook over 38 inches. My boat. We get 4 to 6 a night. And I mean, it was, now you'd lose a lot. Some nights you wouldn't get as many, but you get your feelings hurt. Yep. That's for sure.
Hartley's caught a lot. Worked with him at the shipyard over there. About every night he'd stop by there on the way home off the second shift, 1:30, 2 o'clock. Certain places he caught a lot of big fish too.
Well, seeing a lot of people are scared to go up in that port, Jerry. I learned a lot of that area over there around Harbor Island, all the way around that place, and plenty of fish over there to catch and not much pressure. Those old docks in the port, the shipyard, all that stuff. Now, some of it's off limits. Personally, I ain't gonna stay away from something until you're told to. And if there ain't a sign, you might as well try fishing it. And don't go in there on the busiest day. Go in there on a weeknight. Slide on in.
Yeah.
Throw a live bait up there on some of that old stuff up in Tampa Bay here in the downtown area. I guarantee you're going to see fish and get fish that you've never even knew were there. Am I right, Jerry?
Yep, right up there in front of Harbor Island. From what I've been told, there's a lot of big Jewfish. The tarpon stay there year round anyway.
Yep.
All the time you see them 40, 50 pounders rolling up
All
and
the
down
time, right in the middle of the channel. I know Dave Marquette's won that downtown fishing the docks of Harbor Island.
Yep.
It was so windy, if you remember, it used to be nasty weather most of the time.
Every time.
And you had to stay close. And, you know, a lot of you guys would go around. He would go right there at across from the hospital.
Yep.
Just messing with docks. And it's hard fishing. It ain't like it's easy off a dock because you got to put it to him and get him out. You ain't going to run him to the bush like you did me. In the dock, you going to get broke off.
Yeah, it's like I tell a lot of people I use 150 and 200 on my tarpon reels, tarpon rod. Same thing. But when I stick him, he coming to me.
Oh, yeah. You taught me that on that Calcutta pole. We were fishing one night in there, and I don't know if you ever fished with a Calcutta pole. How long was it, Jerry? 12 foot?
No, this one was I cut it down to 14 foot.
All right, it was 14 foot long.
I had 10 inches of wire on it. No, 10 feet of wire.
10 feet of wire, and then rope.
Yeah.
And then the pole itself is basically a big cane pole, 14 feet long, and it's wrapped in a way that when it bends, that rope gives that cane pole support. So there's no drag. You're tied to it. And I flipped it out. Basically, you keep it the same length. I learned this from Jerry. So when you get the fish, you just lift the pole straight up, pulls him out of the water, and comes straight to you. 20-pound snook, he's coming straight to you in the boat. So I'm sitting there and I'm throwing these baits in, and we're working them docks, if you remember that. And I asked Jerry, I go, what happens if a tarpon hits it? Well, how do you know if it's a tarpon or a 30-pound snook? You don't know. So he said, you better not hold on to it. If a tarpon hits it, he's pulling you in. So I'm thinking, how do you know this? So now I'm fishing with it, flipping it out there, waiting for the tarpon, and I think I caught a 30-inch snook that night.
Yeah, you had some. Matt had one, I think 26 or 28 inches.
Yeah.
But that's just an experience night right there.
Oh, yeah, it was the first time I'd ever used one. It was a good time. And I've had a great time out there, Jerry. You've taught me a lot, and we've had a lot of good times, and we're going to make something happen real soon. You're going to go out there and get spanked again.
Oh, just bring it on and don't get up in my mailbox. Okay?
Y'all hear this? Are we going to your spot or my spot?
It's going to be our spot. You got everyone I showed you.
All right, so they're all your spots. And I can agree with that. You probably showed me most of them spots. So all my buddies out there, when I took you to the east side and we caught fish, it was really him. Jerry, I appreciate you coming out tonight.
Hey, listen,
Spending
I've
some
enjoyed
time
this
with
right
us.
here. I hadn't laughed this hard in a long time. But if you come to Mahoney's, ask for Mike, and we'll give you a special discount from Captain J, okay?
Yeah, we'll give it back. But you got to tell me where he's fishing. You got to tell me where he's fishing. Thanks,
Lordy.
Jerry. I appreciate it, man.
Hey, I appreciate it again, brother.
Thanks.